Hello and welcome to More Tea Minister. My name is Ian. This is going to be a very short video, still a review, but it's going to be a short one. We are looking at just one tea and we're going to brew it in only one style. And we've already taken a look at the packaging in other videos, so that reduces the runtime as well. The tea we're looking at is a style that we haven't reviewed on this channel, depending on how you would want to categorize teas. It's specifically naturally grown Zairai Hoji-Kamairicha, micro-batch Japanese craft tea. It's produced by Tea Factory Gen, which is sort of very small scale artisan tea producer. And it's from tencha.co.uk, Tencha London. As I say, we've looked at this tea as part of our bancha/roasted tea haul, and this one, in a sense, fit into both sides of that category, because on the one hand, it's a green tea, and it's a distinctive green tea because it's Kamairicha, which means pan or iron pan roasted tea. By which I mean most green tea in Japan is it undergoes the Kilgreen process through steam, and that's what part of the reason why you'll often find green tea, especially that tea which has undergone a heavier steaming, it's almost particulate, or there's a lot of sedimentary material. This is very different. The leaf material is very different, if you don't mind a spoiler, because the Kilgreen process is carried out through direct heat. It's carried out through heating the leaves and keeping them moving in metalware, in big pans. I don't want you to imagine it's sort of something handheld on a cooker, at least when it's scaled up. So that leaves the leaves in a different kind of condition, and it adds something to the scent. It adds a kind of roasty, nutty note, as opposed to what steaming brings to the tea, which brings out, depending on what the varietal is, a lot of the umami and a lot of the savouriness, and in some instances even that kind of characteristic saline quality that you get from green tea. This is different. However, this is not simply Kamairicha, this is Hoji-Kamairicha, which means roasted, pan-roasted tea. So there's an extra degree of roasting on top of this. I should say that Kamairicha, I've seen in a couple of instances now, is being used as the basis to make something else. I've seen for sale elsewhere the attempt to recreate yet another bancha folk tea, the basis of which is Kamairicha, but then the leaves are allowed to sun dry. This is something different. This, in a sense, reminds me of Sanin bancha, because Tea Factory Gen are basically reclaiming material in order to produce this tea in the first place. So we're moving away from simply pan-fried green tea and what that brings in terms of the material that's being processed and in terms of the finished product. I've already done part 2 of this video where we look at the leaf material, not the packaging, because we've already had a close-up of that in other videos, and it's really quite distinctive. I brewed it, I've tasted it, but I didn't take the chance to look too close at the material, which I've done for the next part of our video. Suffice it to say, it does make it stand out. It's not on a scale with some of the farmers' teas we've looked at, such as the Kancha or the Kyobancha or the Mimasaka bancha, or any other kinds of bancha, or even the Kancha. It stands in its own kind of subcategory, but I do like this idea of branching out whilst using something very distinctive and something very humble in terms of the original material. So let's move on to look at the leaf material. We'll report back on the scent, and then we'll have just the one Kyushu style brewing. I don't have a Kyushu, but teapot/Western/Kyushu style brew for the tea. See you in a moment. So here we are taking a look at the leaf material and stalk material for the, the Zairai Hoji-Kamairicha, which is naturally grown. I bought this from Tencha of London, but it's produced by Tea Factory Gen, which is very much a micro sized kind of tea processing outfit in Japan, a name I'm seeing more and more of. Looking at the leaf material for this Kamairicha, you've got really, really varied looking material. In some respects, you might be forgiven for thinking that this is Sanenbancha because you've got this gigantic piece of stalk here. But alongside that, you've just got leaves of different size, some miniature, some much thinner stalk material, some long withered leaves. And really, that's a sort of defining aspect of this. This is meant to be, in its earliest forms, it's meant to be simply a different way of kill greening green tea, but in this respect, it's producing something very distinctive, not least because it's being made from material that's effectively reclaimed, or at least the land and the plants are. The scent on the tea is really, really enjoyable because you have something of the freshness of green tea, the smoothness from that, but coupled with it, the roasted qualities are really coming through. It doesn't have the singed quality to the scent that you would get with Kyobancha, but you can see the leaves are nowhere near as roasted as that. But you can tell that there's extra baking in this, and you can see, well, you can tell, I would say by the smell, how this is sometimes regarded as a sort of analog of oolong. So really varied palette, color-wise, size-wise, material-wise for the leaf. The scent is green tea with a strong roasting element, and I'm very much looking forward to reviewing this for you. Western teapot, or we should say Kyushu style. Back in a mo. Welcome back to the last part of our video. I don't know why I say welcome back. It's not like we went away and came back to this part of the video. Welcome to this part of the video. The third part of our video, where we have a Western / teapot / Kyushu style brewing and review of our tea for today, which is, just to get the full name, naturally grown Zairai Hoji-Kamairicha micro batch Japanese craft tea. So it is a Kamairicha, a pan-roasted, pan-fried green tea that's then been treated to extra roasting, and you can definitely tell that on the scent of the dry leaves. The cultivar is denoted by Zairai, which is, as far as I can make out, and I'm happy to be corrected, the kind of equivalent to Shanchao in Taiwan. It's an indigenous tea strain. However, it's something to do with it being grown from seed as well. But bearing in mind, in the case of this particular tea, we are looking at sort of very often reclaimed tea plantations. And we've already seen a fairly generous harvesting grade, if we want to put it that way. So let's take a look at the tea itself. The brewing parameters are 5 grams of tea to 300 mils of water, so that's really quite high tea to water ratio. 95 degrees centigrade for 2 to 3 minutes. So you know immediately, just from that you're not dealing with a standard Japanese green tea, because 95 degrees would pretty much destroy a lot of them. So taking a look at the colour, you've got a very, 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 very rich yellow colour that I don't know why I'm not getting much light on it today. There we are. With a green tinge to it as well. The scent, the roasted note comes through very, very clearly. It's first and foremost that roasted note. It's very, very comforting. And it does segue into not just the sweetness of the leaf material, but that baking does add a different kind of sweetness, or it adjusts it. Let's put it that way, because after all, that's one of the characteristics of baking we've found with the Sanenbancha, especially the Wahaha Sanenbancha. The baking, the roasting of the leaf material turns the finished tea into almost liquid caramel, or caramel flavored tea. So the baking is really adding something to the sweetness there. That's in the material. There's no sort of heavy vegetal. There's nothing overly savory, nothing like that. no knees and elbows, which is a phrase I've picked up from somebody else. It's all smoothness, and you've got it on the cup. You've got leafiness, greenness, but not a dull vegetal note, and baked quality and sweetness. It's undoubtedly a green tea. It hasn't been processed beyond recognition, so there is it has a certain leafiness, if you want to put it that way. There's a touch of the savoury, but only a touch. It's really coming from the leafiness. And the roasted quality is there, and that segues into that interesting kind of sweetness. So it all fits together really well. Sometimes they're interplaying very nicely. You're getting baked, leafy, or the other way around. And so it's satisfying, but it's not rich. It's light enough to be just really enjoyed without worrying too much about feeling heavy afterwards or sluggish. Because it's a green tea and it's been baked, I've no doubt that will have done something to reduce the caffeine levels as well. Yeah, it's a really interesting tea to have that green tea kind of leafiness plus the baked aspect to it as well. It really kind of works together very nicely. It does add a kind of nuttiness to it. And I can also see why sometimes people say, is it transforming it in some senses into an oolong? Although it's a different one because it's zero. If it's been kilgreened at the same pace as an ordinary green tea, then it should be zero oxidation. Anyway, it's very enjoyable. I've seen Kamairicha in various guises for sale from different vendors. Specifically this extra roasted version, I haven't seen, at least to my knowledge, anywhere else. So I got this from tencha.co.uk, and as a matter of courtesy, I would suggest that if possible, and you want to try it out, you get it from them if that's convenient for you. It is available, I should say for the sake of honesty, it is available directly from the producer. I have been to their website and I bought tea directly from their website. So, very interesting, very different, very light and refreshing with a little bit of body, and that baked quality is really making it a very different kind of animal. So 3 out of 3, not exactly complicated to produce. If you want a green tea with a bit of nutty quality, here you are. If you want a bancha that's a little less uncompromising, this is the kind of thing to go for as well. So, shorter video, I hope. That last bit's only 7 minutes. That's a record for me, surely. Only remains for me to say happy steeping and God bless.